And I call the honourable member for Moncrieff.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Governments do not create jobs. Business and employers do, and this is a message to the other side. This bill delivers the worst possible news that Australian small and medium enterprises could get on top of the mess that this government, those opposite, is making with the Australian economy. Thanks to this government, power prices are not being cut by $275, as promised. No, they're going up by 56%. Gas prices are forecast to go up by 44%. Prices are completely out of control. Inflation is at 7.3%, projected to go up to 8% later this year. Property prices, what are they doing? Well, they're going down, and staff shortages are at a crisis point across many sectors. So what does this Labor government do, and what do their union masters do when the economy is facing these challenges? I ask the Australian people that question. They legislate to make a bad situation worse. That's right. But what's the very first step they take, Mr Deputy Speaker? What they do first is they abolish the cop on the beat that would keep unions in check, so that their path is clear for unions to interfere in private enterprise with the sole purpose of collecting union fees. Unions who since 2007 have donated over $100 million to the Australian Labor Party, and it's now time for them to pay it back with interest. So Labor abolished the Australian Building and Construction Commission, the ABCC, which the EY report from April this year said could lead to a total economic loss of around $47.5 billion by 2030. Further, the Albanese Labor government's abolition of the ABCC will save Australia's most militant union, the CFMMEU Construction Division, millions of dollars in civil penalties and legal expenses in the coming years. We can expect jobs to be lost, Mr Deputy Speaker, this militant union to run riot, causing building costs to skyrocket and large and small businesses alike to fold. Labor, at a time of multiple challenges across our economy, want to send businesses broke and cause employees and their families to lose their income. Reintroducing industry-wide bargaining like we saw in the 1970s will cause widespread strike action, including potential sympathy strikes by other sectors and other industries. Now, nobody wishes to stand in the way of higher wages, but there is just no evidence that this legislation will deliver wage increases. In fact, this bill will hold up wage rises because it increases complexity and delays. It will force up prices and increase the cost of living. It will undermine competition so Australians have fewer choices but face higher costs, unfairly targeting small businesses because these changes will be complicated, expensive, and mums and dads' businesses just don't have the HR departments that they can wade through these complex changes. And it will open the front door to unions into small businesses, which have never had to deal with them before. Now, there's over 32,000 small businesses in my electorate of Moncrieff on the Central Gold Coast, and over 60,000 small businesses, 60,000 small businesses on the Gold Coast who will suffer under this bill, and there will be compulsory bargaining for SMEs. They're not happy, Mr Deputy Speaker. My small businesses, my chambers of commerce, are not happy about this bill. It's small and family business that holds up the Gold Coast economy, the tourism sector, the hospitality sector, and they'll be badly impacted by this bill and this Labor government. No one from the Labor Party, absolutely no one from the Labor Party, is looking after the Gold Coast or Gold Coasters and their families. They just don't get business on the other side. You just don't understand how to run a business and the costs associated with it. Gold Coasters know that the Labor Party and the unions do not have their interests at heart. They know what the coalition has delivered to our region, and they believe in reward for effort and running their own business without union interference. The head of the CFMMEU, John Setka himself, said, and I quote, "This legislation gives us the ability to go after non-unionised workplaces." And who are non-unionised workplaces? Do those opposite even know who they are? They're your local coffee shop, your local restaurant, your local chemist, on the Gold Coast, your local surf shop, your neighbour's business, and the list goes on. They'll all suffer, as will their employees, when they can no longer make ends meet to pay their bills and are forced to make drastic changes under this bill or, sadly, close their doors altogether. Now, earlier this year, This union and its South Australian secretary were fined $27,000 for staging an intimidating and illegal protest on a construction site on East Terrace in Adelaide. And during that protest, they chanted "Grubby, grub, grub" in the face of a female lawyer and yelled at a female employee to get off-site. There are currently 30 CFMM EU representatives before the courts, and since 2016, the CFMM EU has been fined more than $15 million. John Setka has actually been convicted of harassing his estranged wife, breaching court orders, and more recently, she's claimed that she is living in fear of him. My point, Deputy Speaker, is that under the Albanese government, union groups such as the CFMM EU will have more power to do as they please in Australian businesses and workplaces, including small and medium and large businesses. And those businesses across Australia have deep reservations that the expansion of multi-employer bargaining risks jeopardising the important focus on encouraging employers and employees to reach agreements at the enterprise level. Enterprise bargaining should be the cornerstone of our workplace relations system if we are to grow pay packets, improve job security and boost productivity. Not a union armed with the right of veto over any agreement made between the employer and the employee. The union will have the right to veto any agreement made between the employer and the employee. They don't like it, those opposite, when I point out the truth of this bill. This erodes the choices of entrepreneurs. It erodes the very foundation of the core values of having a go, of building something from nothing and keeping more of what you've earned in order to invest in yourself and in your community and, most of all, in your business. This is the entrepreneurial spirit of the Gold Coast at stake here that this Labor government is planning to dismantle right now. The Chambers of Commerce and the manufacturing sector in my electorate do not support this bill, and neither do hard-working business owners who will be forced into doing as they are told by unions and Fair Work. The ACCI Chief Executive Andrew McKellar has warned that compulsory multi-employer bargaining is a seismic shift to Australia's workplace relations system, reversing decades of tripartite consensus, and would result in more strikes, fewer jobs, centralised decision-making and less trust within our enterprises. He said, quote, "Enterprise bargaining is the cornerstone of our workplace relations system, and any significant change requires an extended period of robust and transparent public consultation." Yet this government is in such a hurry to ram this through the parliament they haven't even conducted proper consultation, except with the union bosses. And they haven't conducted any modelling on the effects, nor do they understand the consequences of these seismic changes to the everyday lives of working Australians. Now, the Business Council of Australia Chief Executive, Jennifer Westacott, who we all know and have heard from, we want wages to go up, but that won't be achieved by creating more complexity, more strikes and higher unemployment. Australia is in the midst of a global economic storm, and there's no room for error. If we want to secure our economic future, we have to tread carefully. That's a message from the Business Council of Australia. But those opposite are not treading carefully. No, they're ramming through these changes without amendment or due consideration for the biggest IR changes since work choices. Consider this scenario, Mr Deputy Speaker. Consider this. You've got a family with a printing business on the Gold Coast, plenty of them. 3 generations of family. They employ 40 locals, and they support their local community through fundraising activities and through sponsorships. An employee goes to the boss and asks for more flexible working hours and for some time working at home. Now, some staff are always sick, and the business is already understaffed due to shortages, as we know. So the boss has to say, "Look, I'm really sorry. I need you here to serve the customers and to supervise the deliveries. You can't do that from home, and I can't change our opening hours, so I need to have you here, please." Well, the employee says that's not fair, makes a complaint to the Fair Work Commission. The way you manage your rosters as a result, and staff, and perhaps even opening hours, is now in the hands of the arbitration of the Fair Work Commission. You are no longer the boss. You have been manipulated by this bill through the unions, who are now the CEO of your family business, and the Fair Work Commission, who is your new general manager.
Order. The member's
Speaker,
time has
this bill is
expired.